The members of the wood group felt a little uneasy when they saw that the gold group had been criticized by Nanny Chi. They didn't perform as well as expected. After they returned to their original positions, they looked at Nanny Chi with a perturbed expression. Your movements are stiff, and you don't have enough charm. You barely passed, Nanny Chi said coldly. The 4 members of the wood group finally heaved a sigh of relief. It was fine, it was fine. No matter what, it was fine as long as you passed. The group of water and group of earth also barely passed the test, but they were also mercilessly criticized by Grandma Chi. After everyone passed the test, they were in the mood to watch the show. They were almost certain that if Grandma Chi was so harsh, the 4 members of the group of earth would definitely be eliminated. Zhao Mama also thought so, and she couldn't help but feel a little regretful. The 4 members of the group of earth had simple backgrounds, were obedient, and had a little bit of intelligence. They were not bad candidates, but their etiquette was too bad. They were probably going to be eliminated. Earth group, begin the test, Are you Shuang said loudly. Mo Wanwan and the other 2 slightly clenched their fists. Then, they followed Yun Chujia's instructions and took the role of Sheng'en V. They moved lightly and slowly. The girls from the other 4 groups were stunned. Ru Shuang, Rui, and Zhao Mama were also stunned. How was this possible? Yesterday, these 4 people were still walking in a humble and cowardly manner, but now, each of them was walking with a lotus flower. How could they have so many manners? Not to mention whether they passed or not, these 4 people had at least achieved 70% of the saint's charm. It was truly unbelievable. A satisfied look appeared in Mama Chi's eyes. After the 4 people had finished the test, she said, Not bad. These 4 people have learned the essence of etiquette, unlike you people who have only learned the basics. Zhao Mama, you have taught them very well. Although Zhao Mama still didn't understand what was going on, it was naturally good to be praised by the higher-ups. She declined a few words and then sent Zhao Mama away from the courtyard. After sending Zhao Mama away, Zhao Mama turned back. She said coldly, I hope that after this matter, you can put away your arrogance and don't think that you are so great. Everyone here has an equal opportunity. Although the 4 people from the Earth group came from the lowest background, they put in a lot of hard work, which is why they had such a good performance today. I hope all of you can learn from the Earth group. The girls hated the 4 people from the Earth group to death. They had clearly learned so well, yet they still pretended that they didn't know how to do it. Could it be that they were playing around with them? It was really too detestable. Just you wait, oh. I won't spare you. The previous 4 days were just a basic test for you. From today onwards, the main content of the second round of the test will be, Zhao Mama continued. When everyone heard this, they immediately perked up. What exactly was the content of the second round of the test? As everyone knows, the reason why our netherworld continent is called the netherworld continent is because of the netherworld power. Not everyone on our netherworld continent can possess the netherworld power, but it is best for the saintess of the netherworld palace to be able to cultivate the netherworld power, Sheng'en V said. Therefore, I will teach you the method to cultivate the netherworld power. The content of the second round of assessment is related to the netherworld power. I know that some of you have already mastered the power of the netherworld. However, I hope that today's matter will serve as a warning to all of you. If you continue to be arrogant, you will only be eliminated in the end. That's all I have to say. I will now begin to teach you the mental cultivation method and chant, Zhao Mama said coldly. When the girls heard what Zhao Mama said, most of them were extremely excited. The cultivation method of the power of the netherworld had always been mastered only by big families. They had no chance to learn it at all. They did not expect to have such a good opportunity now. Although they might not be able to master it, what if they could? There were also a few young girls whose faces were ashen. They were all from big families and had long tried to cultivate the power of the netherworld. However, they had failed time and time again. It seemed that there was no hope for them in the selection of the Sheng V. However, they still had a glimmer of hope. What if they were lucky enough to pass the assessment? They could not give up yet. Moreover, there were only a few people who could possess the power of the netherworld. They might not be able to master it. Yun Chujia's heart was filled with frustration. Oh my God, she was from the Qin Xian continent. It would be a miracle if she could cultivate the power of the netherworld. However, some of them did not look too good. They were afraid that they would not be able to cultivate the power of the netherworld either. Everything would be fine once they reached the end of the bridge. When the time came, they would just have to deal with each other. After Zhao Mama passed the mnemonic formula and mental cultivation method to everyone, she had everyone sit down and meditate to practice. Soon, it was lunchtime again. The group was on guard against the soil group as if they were guarding against wolves. They had already made up their minds that once the soil group snatched lunch, they would teach them a good lesson. What the group didn't expect was that the soil group didn't snatch lunch from them at all. Instead, they directly entered the dormitory. The group was like a heavy fist smashing into cotton. They couldn't let go of this anger in their hearts. They were simply cowards. Even if they wanted to find trouble, they did not have the chance. Could it be that they went to the door of the Earth group and shouted, "Why aren't you guys fighting for food?" Mo Wanwan looked through the crack in the door and saw that the people were so angry that they were twitching. She turned around and gave Yun Chujio a thumbs up. "Chu Chu, Mo Wanwan, am in awe of you. How did your brain grow? Why are you so smart?" "That's right, Chu Chu, you're really too smart." Lu Qin echoed. "Don't praise her anymore. I don't think she's smart. She's full of bad ideas." Zhou Yinghan scolded with a smile. Although Yun Chujio was a little depressed because of the netherworld power, she still joked with the three of them for a while. That afternoon, Zhao Mama still let everyone try to sense the netherworld power. They could only cultivate after they had a connection with the netherworld power. Normally, this process would take 3 days, so Zhao Mama was not in a hurry. She was in charge of answering everyone's questions from time to time. That night, after everyone had washed up, Mo Wanwan asked Yun Chujio, "Chujio, are we still not going to fight for lunch tomorrow?" Yun Chujio was a little worried about the power of the netherworld. She did not have the mood to fight for a little food anymore. Moreover, her goal of seducing Mo Wanwan and the other two had basically been achieved, hence, she slapped her thigh and said, "Look at my memory. There are a lot of delicious food in my storage ring, and I actually forgot about it. Let's not fight with them in the future. Anyway, the food doesn't taste that good." Mo Wanwan and the other two looked at the various delicacies that Yun Chujio brought out and wished they could strangle this little rascal to death. They worked so hard every day to snatch a tiny bit of food, but you actually did not bring out so many delicious food. What do you mean you forgot? Who are you lying to? You did it on purpose. However, they didn't really care. After all, they weren't familiar with each other at the beginning, so it was normal for them to have some reservations. However, this fellow actually shamelessly ate for free. His skin was really thick to a new height. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. In the blink of an eye, another 2 days had passed. Everyone was very puzzled. Why did the 4 people from the Earth group stop stealing food? Could it be that they were afraid of US taking revenge? At this moment, there were already people who could sense the power of the netherworld one after another. They were all extremely excited. Even if they could not become the successor of the Sheng NV, being able to grasp the power of the netherworld was a great harvest. If there were people who were excited, there would be people who were disappointed. More than half of the people did not sense the power of the netherworld. The unlucky Yun Chujio was one of them. On the first day, this fellow was seriously sensing the power of the netherworld. After 2 days, she simply went into a fugue state. This fellow thought to himself, she was not from the netherworld continent at all. It was definitely impossible for her to cultivate any bullshit power of the netherworld. With this kind of kung fu, she might as well catch up on her sleep. The other 3 people from the Earth group had already sensed the power of the netherworld and were extremely excited. However, when they saw Yun Chujia's sullen expression, they could only console her one after another. Chu, don't give up. Perhaps you will be able to sense the power of the netherworld tomorrow. That's right, Chu. You can definitely do it. Fuck. Chu, even if you really can't cultivate the power of the netherworld, there are still the 3 of us. When the time comes, we will be using the group as a unit. Don't worry. I will take care of you. When Yun Chujio heard Zhou Yinghan's words, her eyes could not help but light up. That's right. This second round was tested in groups. Although she could not cultivate the power of the netherworld, the 3 of them could. What was there to be afraid of? Right. Yinghan was right. The 3 of you should cultivate well. Although there were only 2 days left, it would not be quick if you sharpened your spear at the last minute. You must work hard. Whether or not I can pass this second round of the test will depend on you. Yun Chujio said excitedly. The corners of Mo Wanwan and the other 2's mouths twitched. Your mood has changed too quickly, hasn't it? You don't have to say it. We will work hard too. Even if it's not for the sake of the successor of Sheng Envi, it's still beneficial to be able to learn more. Therefore, for the remaining 2 days, other than sleeping and eating, Mo Wanwan and the other 2 spent all their time on cultivation. Apart from shouting slogans and encouraging them, Yun Chujio was either daydreaming or reading a script. Finally, it was the day of the second round of the assessment. The young girls nervously went to the courtyard to wait for Zhao Mama's arrival. After a while, Zhao Mama walked in from outside. After sweeping a glance at everyone, she said, Rushuang, Rui, bring them with me. Everyone was puzzled. Could it be that the second round of the assessment was going to another place? What exactly was the content of the second round of the test? The crowd followed Zhao Mama to the outside of a palace. When they entered the square inside, they found that there were already many young girls waiting in line. Those young girls were all participants from other large groups. Obviously, the teaching content of each large group was the same. Those large groups also carried out the test in groups of 4. Yun Chujio stretched her neck and quickly understood the content of the test. Her heart was like a dog that was crying. It sounded nice, but all opportunities were equal. It was pure nonsense. In front of everyone was a transparent ball. The 4 people who participated in the test used the power of the netherworld to attack the ball at the same time. The screen behind the ball would show a certain number. Damn it, if there was one powerful person in a group, then the number would soar very high, and the other 3 would be able to take a ride. However, it didn't make sense. Shouldn't that old bastard, Vice Palace Master Lu, choose someone with low spiritual power to control? Why was the setting like this in the second round? Yun Chujio blinked her eyes and suddenly realized that this Vice Palace Master Lu was quite shrewd. With such a setup for the second round of the assessment, there would definitely be many young ladies from large clans being selected. If that was the case, even if the candidates from large clans were eliminated in the third round, those large clans would not be able to find anything wrong with it. Taking a step back, although such a setup for the second round of the assessment would be beneficial to the candidates from large clans, there would definitely be some lucky people without any background who would pass the second round of the assessment. This way, they would not be found out by others and would not affect the final selection. This Vice Palace Master Lu was really scheming. When the young ladies who participated in the second round saw the contents of the second round, naturally, some were happy while others were worried. The 4 people from the gold group had smug expressions on their faces. Although only Shinzimo and Ning Xian could use the power of the netherworld, they had been cultivating the power of the netherworld for several years, it wouldn't be a problem for them to get first place. Mo11 and the other two were discouraged. Although the three of them could use the power of the netherworld, they had only just learned it. How could they surpass the gold group? Mo11 and the other two looked at Yun Chujio habitually. They held a trace of hope that Yun Chujio would have a way to win. Yun Chujio couldn't help but smile bitterly. Damn it, if she could help by testing her spiritual power, she wouldn't be able to use the damn power of the netherworld at all. Just as Yun Chujio's thoughts were running wild, she heard someone laughing contemptuously. Yun Chujio turned her head and saw that the person laughing was Jin Ji. When Jin Ji passed by Yun Chujio's side, she whispered, "Ugly freak, so what if you relied on your methods to enter the second round? You will definitely lose this round. You ugly and poor trash." Yun Chujio smiled at her. Just when Jin Ji did not know what Yun Chujio meant, she heard Yun Chujio say in a clear voice, "Zhao Mama, this Jin Ji said that everyone in our group is trash." Zhao Mama looked at Jin Ji coldly. "The test is over. Leave now or you will be disqualified." Jin Ji gritted her teeth in anger and glared at Yun Chujio before leaving. Yun Chujio pouted. How could a brainless person fight with her? She was looking for trouble. But how could she pass this round? She was so worried. Soon, it was the turn of Zhao Mama's group. The 4 members of the gold group walked to the designated test site. Shen Zimo and Ning Xian bit their index fingers and began to chant. The remaining Li Qianqian and Lu Chuyue did not have the power of the netherworld at all, so they stood aside and cheered. They were very confident that their gold group would definitely win. As long as they passed this round, they would definitely not compete with the power of the netherworld in the next round. They might even be the winners. As Shen Zimo and Ning Xian are attacked, the number on the display screen kept rising. The two of them used all their strength to attack. Unfortunately, the display screen only showed the peak of their attack power. No matter how long they attacked, it was useless. Seeing that their attacks were useless, the two of them could only stop attacking. The number on the display froze at 2000. Shen Zimo and Ning Xian looked at each other and smiled. This result was already quite good. The groups that had obtained the first place in the previous large groups were only around 1,800. Therefore, they could definitely advance. When the other 4 groups saw the heaven-defying results of the gold group, their hearts immediately thumped. It was over. They simply could not surpass the gold group. They definitely would not be able to pass the second round of the test. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. As expected, the candidates from the wood group, water group, and fire group performed much worse than those from the gold group. There was no suspense at all. As Zhao Mama's group was the last big group, the person in charge of the test was also very tired. He couldn't wait to go back and rest, therefore, he asked a little impatiently, "Do you still want to test the remaining group? I don't think you have any chance of winning. Just admit defeat." Although Mo11 and the other two knew that their chances were slim, they were not willing to give up just like that. Therefore, they said, "Manager, we still have to give it a try. Since you guys insist on banging your heads against the wall, I won't stop you guys. Hurry up and stop dawdling." That person saw that Mo11 and the other two had very low spiritual power. Even if they knew the power of the netherworld, it would definitely be very limited, so he did not think much of them at all. The 4 members of the gold group also curled their lips. They really overestimated themselves. With just you guys, you still want to compete with us? In your dreams. Previously, what standing up, what etiquette, they were just fooling you guys who didn't have any background. See? In the end, it still depends on strength. You guys simply have no chance of winning. However, it's also good to let them take a test. It's just the right time to let them see the difference between us, the difference between the clouds and the mud. Mo11 and the other two clenched their fists. With solemn expressions, they stood in front of the round ball. As for Yun Chujio, she also stood in front of the round ball with a casual look. Mo11 said in a low voice, "Chu-Chu, you don't have the power of the netherworld. You just need to stand to the side." Yun Chujio said with a smile, "Standing to the side would be disgraceful. I'm just making up the numbers. You guys don't need to care about me. I can brag about it when I go back." The corners of Mo11 and the other two's eyes twitched. At this time, this Chujio still had the intention to show off. There was really no one else. However, with Yun Chujio's interruption, their anxiety eased a lot. Chujio was right. No matter what, they should be proud that they had come this far. They should just leave everything to fate. The three of them bit their index fingers and began to chant, "With my blood, sacrifice the netherworld, the power of the netherworld, come." 3 weak powers of the netherworld attacked the ball. The highest number on the display screen was only 800. The manager in charge of the test could not help but twitch his lips. He still wanted to test someone with such standards. He really overestimated himself. What was that little girl doing? What was the meaning of gesturing with a dagger? When Mo11 and the other two were attacking the ball, they heard Yun Chujio mumbling, "Damn, I really can't do this to myself. 10 fingers connected to the heart is so painful. Should I cut myself just to show off?" The corners of Mo11 and the other two's eyes twitched violently. They did not know this guy. This guy was not in the same group as them. Yun Chujio muttered to herself for a while. She still made a small cut on her index finger and then began to chant weakly. Her voice was so soft that only Mo11, who was beside her, could hear it. "Power of the netherworld, come. Come quickly. Damn it, I've already lost so much blood. Damned power of the netherworld, if you don't come, I'll curse 8 generations of your ancestors." Mo11 almost fell to the ground. Was Chu-Chu crazy? What nonsense was he talking about? Their blood was used to worship the spirit of the netherworld. Only when the spirit of the netherworld was satisfied would it bestow them with the power of the netherworld. If she insulted them like this, she might suffer retribution. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The crowd could not hear what Yun Chujio was saying clearly and thought that she was chanting normally. They could not help but curl their lips. This Lin Chujio was not able to grasp the power of the netherworld at all, yet she still went up to join in the fun. She was simply asking for humiliation. This group of Earth had no hope of winning at all. It was just a waste of time. Mo11 was afraid that Yun Chujio would do something funny again. Just as she was about to signal for Lu Qin and Zhou Yinghan to end the test, she was stunned by a loud bang. With a bang, the test ball actually exploded. Everyone was stunned by this sudden turn of events. The test ball could withstand tens of thousands of attacks. How could it suddenly explode? Just as everyone was stunned, they heard someone say excitedly, "Ha ha ha. We're the first place. We've passed the test." When everyone saw that it was Lin Chujio who was jumping around happily, everyone thought to themselves, could it be that Lin Chujio was scared out of her mind? They were the first place. In their dreams, they wanted to be the first place with 800 attack power. They were definitely in last place. Mo11 recalled Yun Chujio's previous actions and thought to herself, it's over. Chujio must have wanted to pass the test too much, so there must be something wrong with her brain. Hence, she walked to Yun Chujio's side and advised, "Chujio, we were eliminated. Let's go down." Yun Chujio pointed at the display screen and said excitedly, "Wan, our numbers have soared to 1 million. How can we be eliminated? We're in first place." Mo11 was stunned. She looked in the direction Yun Chujio was pointing at and saw that the number displayed on the display screen was actually 1 million. Everyone looked up at the display screen at this moment. When they saw the 1 million displayed on it, they were also stunned. What was going on? Shen Zimo immediately said loudly, "The testing ball must have malfunctioned, so the display screen also malfunctioned. This result can't be counted. As everyone can see, your highest attack value is only 800. You guys are eliminated. The first place goes to our gold group." Ning Xin and the other two also echoed loudly, "That's right. You guys are too shameless. That display screen clearly malfunctioned. It's not your result at all. 3 rookies who just learned the power of the netherworld and an idiot still want to surpass us. What wishful thinking. Hurry up and come down. Don't embarrass yourself there. You guys are eliminated." Mo11 and the other two looked at each other. They knew that there must be something wrong with the display, so they were ready to leave. Unexpectedly, Yun Chujio sneered, "There's nothing in the rules. If there's something wrong with the display, it doesn't count, right? When it's our turn to test, there's a problem with the display. This means that we're lucky. This luck is also a type of strength, right? If you guys aren't convinced, why are you causing problems with the display? Zhao Mama, you're the most fair. Tell us, are we the first place?" Zhao Mama obviously didn't expect this to happen. She was silent for a moment. "You guys go back to the dormitory and wait for the notification. I'll inform you later. Rushuang, Rui, bring them back to the dormitory." After Zhao Mama said that, she turned around and left the courtyard. Yun Chujio and the others could only follow Rushuang and Rui back to the dormitory. Once Rushuang and Rui left, Shen Zimo sneered and said to Yun Chujio, "Lin Chu, there was clearly a problem with the display screen, but you were shameless enough to admit that you were wrong. You are really shameless." Yun Chujio looked at Shen Zimo. "Yes, there was a problem with the display. I admit it, but we were lucky. It just so happened that there was a problem with the display when we were testing. God is really helping us. Are you jealous? It's useless to be jealous. It's your bad luck. You're so shameless. You won't succeed. The first place is ours." Shen Zimo had never met such a scoundrel before. She couldn't think of any other excuse. "Your words don't count. It will only be effective after Zhao Mama's notice. I don't have time to argue with you. I still have to enter the room to prepare for the next round of the test." Yun Chujio said and skipped into the dormitory. Shen Zimo was so angry that she gnashed her teeth. Ning Xin advised, "Zimo, don't lower yourself to such people. The first place will definitely be ours. Everyone has seen it. There's a problem with the display. It's not the strength of the Earth group at all. It's really strange. Why did the test ball suddenly explode? The display screen also had a problem. It's really unlucky." Li Qianshan said angrily. Lu Qiuyue also echoed, "It's probably because there were too many people in the previous test, so the test ball burst. Don't worry. The people above are not fools. They naturally know the truth. They will definitely let us advance. Zimo, let's go inside and wait." Shen Zimo felt that what they said made sense. She cursed a few more times before following the other 3 back to the dormitory. Mo11 saw the members of the gold group leave through the crack of the door. She then sighed and said, "Chu, you don't have to offend them. Although there's a problem with the display screen, the people above aren't fools. How could they let us advance?" Yun Chujio bared her little white teeth. "That's not right. Don't worry, we'll definitely advance." Mo11 looked at Yun Chujio worriedly. "Chujio, are you alright? Are you too eager to advance, so you're a little crazy?" Yun Chujiu giggled. "I'm fine. There was evidence behind what I said, but when we were testing, the display screen broke. This meant that the heavens had high hopes for us. Think about it, who is the Sheng Nv? Sheng Nv represents the entire netherworld. If we can receive the blessings of the heavens, wouldn't it be more justified? So, we will definitely advance." Mo Wanwan and the other two were stunned. Chu Chu's words made some sense, but was it possible? Yun Chujiu lay on the bed and took out her phone book to read. This fellow was very confident. Vice Palace Master Lu was looking for a puppet. The 4 people from the Earth group really fit the requirements. Moreover, they had the gimmick of being chosen by the heavens. It would be a miracle if they didn't pass. However, she was just trying her best. Could it be that her summoning really worked? "Master, if that test ball doesn't explode, how do you plan to pass the second round of the test?" Xiao Hanio asked curiously. Yun Chujiu curled the corners of her lips. "If my curse isn't effective, I will think of a way to get the steward in charge of the test to the vicinity of the ball. Then, I will let you curse and let that steward knock the ball onto the ground. Then, he will destroy the ball in the chaos and frame that steward. Of course, the manager is unwilling to take responsibility. When the time comes, he'll say that this is God's will. God wants us to pass the test. In order to clear himself, the manager will naturally speak up for us." Xiao Hanio rolled his eyes. It seemed that God was going to take the blame. The evil master was really bad. No wonder Cheong Chi was ashamed of being inferior to him. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Yun Chujiu had just read a few pages of the script when she heard the voice from outside telling everyone to gather as they wished. Yun Chujiu raised her eyebrows. Good news had arrived. Mo Wanwan and the other 2 were not as optimistic as she was. They left the room uneasily. After everyone had lined up, Zhao Mama glanced at everyone and said slowly, "Shen Zimo, Li Qianqian, Ning Shiner, and Lu Chuyue from the Gold Group have advanced to the second round." The 4 people from the group of Gold immediately revealed a smug expression. The people above were indeed not fools. The people from the group of Earth wanted to take advantage of them. How ridiculous. Although Mo Wanwan and the other 2 did not have much hope in their hearts, they were still a little disappointed when they heard what Zhao Mama said. At this moment, Zhao Mama continued, "Other than the 4 people from the group of Gold, Mo Wanwan, Lu Qin, Lin Chu Chu, and Zhou Han from the group of Earth have received the favor of the Netherworld Spirit, so the higher-ups have decided to make an exception and let you guys enter the third round of the test." Everyone was stunned. They had actually passed the second round of the test. Dog, shit, and luck. Was that what they were talking about? They were really lucky to the extreme. Mo Wanwan and the other 2 were stunned at first, then they revealed ecstatic expressions. They had actually passed the second round of the test. Although Yun Chujiu did not feel any emotions in her heart, she still imitated Mo Wanwan and the other 2 with a silly smile on her face to prevent herself from being exposed. "The 8 of you follow me. Rushuang, Rui, send the remaining people out of the Netherworld Palace immediately," Zhao Mama said to the group. Although the girls were very disappointed, they could not do anything about it. They could only watch enviously as the Gold Group and the Earth Group followed Zhao Mama out of the courtyard. Yun Chujiu and the others followed Zhao Mama to a very large courtyard. There were already dozens of girls waiting inside. When they saw Zhao Mama bring 8 people in, they could not help but feel puzzled. Didn't they say that only one group from each group won? How could there be 8 people in this group? Zhao Mama asked Yun Chujiu and the others to stand in the line, then turned around and left the courtyard. The girls had learned their lesson from the first round of the test. No one dared to speak casually, afraid that this was part of the third round of the test. A moment later, 5 people came in from outside the courtyard. The leader was a middle-aged woman, followed by 4 maids. The middle-aged woman saw that everyone was standing in an orderly manner and said with a trace of satisfaction, as expected of the 1 in 10,000 winners. Congratulations on passing the second round of the test. The young girls saw that the middle-aged woman was so gentle and could not help but feel slightly relieved. It seemed that this nanny was not very strict. Unexpectedly, the middle-aged woman's expression suddenly turned cold. However, don't think that everything will be fine just because you passed the second round of the test. Only 3 out of 44 of you will be qualified to be personally selected by the saint. Therefore, the real test has just begun. From tomorrow onwards, there will be an assessment every 2 days. Those ranked in the bottom 5 will be directly eliminated. Therefore, as long as you slack off for even a moment, you will be eliminated. All of you, keep your spirits up. 10 days later, the remaining people will proceed to the third round of the test. Oh right, you can just call me Jing Mama. These 4 handmaidens are Tingmei, Tinglan, Tingzhu and Tingju. They are responsible for handling your daily affairs. You are dismissed now. Gather on time tomorrow. After Jing Mama left, the handmaidens called Tingmei said faintly, according to the plan, only 40 of you won, so only 10 rooms were prepared. However, now that there are 44 of you, 4 of you can only sleep in the small side room next door. I'll give you 15 minutes to discuss. Who will stay in the small side room? After hearing Mai's words, Shenzimo said loudly, originally, the 4 of us were the winners of our group. However, when Lin Chu and the others were testing, their numbers were only 800. However, because the display screen was broken, they shamelessly said that they were the first place. That was why they shamelessly advanced. Therefore, we should let them live in that small side room. Ning Xin and the other 2 also chimed in one after another, telling them what had happened. After hearing what Shenzimo and the other 2 had to say, Jin Ji was stunned. She said disdainfully, I was wondering how a piece of trash like Lin Chu could have passed the second round of the test. It turns out that he got lucky. He's really thick-skinned. Since you guys passed the test without a proper title, you should stay in a small side room. Some people also echoed, that's right. It's already good enough that you guys can stay in a small side room. If it weren't for the people from the Netherworld Hall being reasonable, you guys would have been eliminated long ago. That's right. Anyway, the 4 of you will be eliminated the day after tomorrow. It's only 2 nights. You guys can stay in a small side room. Mo11 and the other 2 were very angry, but the 4 of them were now isolated and didn't give them a chance to speak. 15 minutes soon passed and everyone said to Tingmei, Lin Chu and the other 2 are willing to live in a small side room. Tingmei witnessed the entire process and naturally knew that Yun Chuzhou and the other 2 were not willing, but what did this have to do with her? Thus, she said indifferently, since that's the case, Lin Chu and the other 2 can live in a small side room. Alright, dismissed. After hearing that Mei and the other 2 had left, Yun Chuzhou sighed. Sigh. I'll stay in the small side rooms then. Originally, I wanted to choose the few rooms with good lighting in the middle, but it seems that I don't have the chance. I don't know who can stay in those few rooms. It's probably Shenzimo and Jin Ji. After all, their backgrounds are quite powerful. After listening to Yun Chujia's words, some people's eyes flickered. Although the remaining 10 rooms were much better than the small side rooms, there were also good and bad rooms. How were they going to allocate them? The alliance that everyone had just formed immediately collapsed. They were quarreling endlessly over those good dormitories. Yun Chuzhou curled her lips. Let's fight, let's fight. It would be better if they started fighting. Yun Chuzhou gave Mo11 and the others a look and the 4 of them walked towards the small side room. Qing Lan stared at Yun Chujia's back and a deep thought flashed through her mind. This Lin Chujio must have said those words on purpose, right? Her thoughts were really deep. Zhou Yinghan opened the door of the small side room. There was no place for her to set foot in, let alone a bed. It was filled with debris and dust. Fuck. Is this a place for people to live? There's not even a bed. How are we supposed to live here? Zhou Yinghan said unhappily. Yun Chujio said nonchalantly, do it yourself. You'll be fine after tidying up. Wan Wan, go look for Ting Mei and the others. Ask them for 4 beds. They'll definitely give it to you. Mo Wan Wan nodded after listening and went to look for Ting Mei and the others. Yun Chujio and the other 2 started to clean up the mess. Yun Chujio waved her hand and the mess disappeared from the spot. She kept it into her storage ring. The dust in the house was also easy to deal with. After using the cleaning spell a few more times, the dust was cleaned up. After Yun Chujio and the others finished cleaning up, Mo Wan Wan returned happily. Ting Mei did not make things difficult for her and gave her 4 beds directly. After the 4 of them had made up the beds, everyone looked at the newly renovated small side room and could not help but smile at each other. Actually, many times, things were not that bad. As long as you faced it positively, everything would become better. Soon, it was time for dinner. To everyone's surprise, the Netherworld Palace did not make things difficult for the contestants this time. The food was not only exquisite, but it was also enough for everyone to eat. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. They had been snatching food for 10 days, and they were really hungry and scared. After dinner, everyone had finished washing up. Mo Wan Wan said, "What do you guys think will be our training content tomorrow? My eyelids keep twitching, and I keep feeling uneasy. We won't really be eliminated the day after tomorrow, right?" Lu Qin sighed. "We're already very satisfied to be able to reach this step. After all, learning the power of the Netherworld will be of great benefit to us in the future. As for the rest, well, just leave it to fate. What's the point of thinking so much? Well, take it one step at a time. Maybe the content of the training is our forte." Zhou Yinghan said disapprovingly. Mo Wan Wan curled her lips. "Forget it. Our strong point. Whether it's our looks, family background, or spiritual power, we can't compare to others. What strong point do we have?" Zhou Yinghan was instantly rendered speechless by Mo Wan Wan's rebuke. He did not expect Yun Chujio to say faintly, "You guys have strong points. Moreover, it's a unique strong point." Mo Wan Wan and the other 2 were stunned. They asked in puzzlement, "What strengths?" Yun Chujio smiled brightly at the 3 of them. "Your strengths are me. Ha ha ha." Mo Wan Wan and the other 2. "Chu Chu, is it really alright for you to be so shameless?" However, they thought about it for a moment. It was not impossible for them to say that. If it was not for Chu Chu, they would have been eliminated during the etiquette test, not to mention the Netherworld power test this time. They had completely relied on Chuchu's shamelessness to pass the test. "Chu Chu, if that's the case, then we'll wait and see. Let's see what other surprises you can bring us with your strength," Mo Wan Wan said with a smile. "Don't worry. There are many surprises. We'll definitely be able to hold on until the end," Yun Chujio said heroically as she patted her chest. The 4 of them laughed a few more times before they finally calmed down. Mo Wan Wan and the other 2 had a very clear self-definition. They would be able to hold on for 1 more day. As for whether they could pass the 3rd round of the test, that would be up to them. The next morning, after everyone had breakfast, they went to the middle of the courtyard and formed a formation. They waited for Zheng Mama's arrival. They were both curious and nervous. What exactly were they going to train them about? A moment later, Zheng Mama walked in, but there were dozens of guards behind her. They were all handsome young men, and there was no sign of inferiority in their movements. They were even more outstanding than the legitimate sons of large families. These guards are your sparring partners for the next 2 days. I'll give you 15 minutes. You can choose on your own. Zheng Mama glanced at everyone and said. The young girls immediately began to discuss among themselves. One of the young girls directly chose the most handsome guard, and the others also began to choose their own guards. Yun Chuzhou and the other 3 were naturally excluded, so after everyone had chosen their guards, the 4 of them randomly chose 4 guards. Seeing that everyone had chosen their guards, Zheng Mama asked Ting Mei and the others to register their names. Then, she said, these guards are not only your sparring partners, but they are also responsible for teaching you the Netherworld sword technique. In a while, you will learn the Netherworld sword technique from your guards. The assessment will take place tomorrow afternoon. Those who fail will be directly eliminated. You can start learning on your own. After Zheng Mama finished speaking, she immediately turned around and left the courtyard. Ting Mei and the others also returned to the dormitory. They actually handed these young girls over to these guards. The young girls were clearly confused. What was the meaning of this? Letting these guards teach them? One of the guards smiled at the young girl he was in charge of. Miss Mingzhu, let's go over there. I'll demonstrate the Netherworld sword style to you. The girl's face turned slightly red as she nodded and followed the guard to a corner of the courtyard. The guard called out a treasure sword, and with a flash, the treasure sword flew up and down at an increasing speed. In the end, only sword lights could be seen. This Netherworld sword technique was indeed very exquisite. The girl could not help but be stunned. After the guard withdrew the sword technique, she was still in a daze. The guard smiled faintly and said, Miss Mingzhu, I'll explain the technique to you now. Only then did the young girl regain her senses and said in a slightly flustered manner, all right, let's begin. When the other young girls saw this, they also chose a place to start learning the Netherworld sword technique. After all, time was precious, and they could not waste it. After a while, everyone began to practice, with only 2 people still standing in their original spots. The guard named Yuqi felt a little creeped out at this moment. Oh God, was the young lady who chose him crazy? Why was the way she looked at him so scary? It was as if she wanted to sell him off. Miss Chuzhou, let's start learning sword techniques too. Yuqi couldn't take it anymore and said. Yun Chuzhou nodded with a smile. Sure, show me once. Yuqi saw that Yun Chuzhou finally stopped looking at him like she was waiting for a good price. He let out a sigh of relief and summoned his sword to demonstrate the Netherworld sword technique. Miss Chuzhou, I'll explain each move to you now, Yuqi said after he finished demonstrating. Yun Chuzhou shook her head. No, I haven't seen enough yet. Show me again. Yuqi was stunned, but he couldn't disobey her, so he raised his treasured sword and demonstrated the Netherworld sword technique once again. Miss Chuzhou, can we break down the moves and learn them now? Yuqi asked again. No, show me again. I'll see again, Yun Chuzhou said with a smile. Although Yuqi didn't understand, he could only demonstrate the Netherworld sword technique again. He wiped the sweat on his forehead with his hand and said, Miss Chuzhou, can we learn the breaking down sword technique now? Yun Chuzhou took out a chair from her storage ring and said, no rush, no rush. You played the sword very well. Show me 180 times more. Yuqi stumbled and almost fell to the ground. 180 more times. Was he trying to tire him out? What? You don't want to? If you really don't want to, I'll ask them to change a guard for me. Yun Chuzhou crossed her legs and said with a smile. Yuqi gritted his teeth. I do. I'll show you right away. Thus, Yuqi and Yun Chuzhou became a unique scenery in the courtyard. The other girls and guards were learning and explaining each move, but these 2 people were better off. One was leisurely sitting on a chair to watch the show, while the other was sweating profusely and demonstrating the netherworld sword technique over and over again. Yukai's heart was like a dog's. He must not have opened the almanac when he went out today. Otherwise, why would he meet such a pervert? This was going to tire him to death. Even though Yuchi was on the verge of breaking down, he could only grit his teeth and persevere when he thought of the punishment of not completing the mission. In the end, it was not a sword dance at all, but a slow-motion replay. Yuchi felt that time was really too slow. It was not easy for him to endure until he heard Mei say, "Take a 2-hour break at noon and continue practicing in the afternoon." Yuchi immediately sat down on the ground, panting heavily. Yun Chujio said with a smile, "Yuchi, eat more for lunch. Play with me for another 180 times in the afternoon. I find that your sword dance is really beautiful." Yuchi only felt a buzzing sound in his head. Oh God, what kind of sin did he commit? The corners of Yun Chujio's mouth curled up. She skipped back to the dormitory with lunch. Mo Wanwan came to Yun Chujio's side. "Chujio, did that guard offend you?" Yun Chujio shook her head. "No, I don't know him. How could he offend me?" "Then why did you torture him so much?" "I think he's so tired that he's sitting on the ground. I'm learning swordsmanship." "Don't worry. These guards are in good health. They won't be tired. After a short rest, they'll be full of vigor." Yun Chujio said indifferently. "One move at a time is effective. Can you learn it like this?" "Forget it, I don't care about you. Anyway, you're full of evil ideas. Chu, tell me, why do you need these guards to teach us the netherworld swordsmanship one-on-one? Can't we just get a guard to teach us?" Mo Wanwan asked in puzzlement. Yun Chujio said faintly, "Naturally, there are considerations. The three of you just need to learn swordsmanship properly. Don't see those guards acting like dogs and move your young girls' hearts." Lu Qin's face turned red. Chu, what are you talking about? We are learning sword techniques, not love. Why would we have thoughts that we shouldn't have? That's right, Chu. I'm only concerned about how to learn the netherworld sword technique well. Although those guards are pretty good looking, who knows what they are up to? I'm not interested. Zhou Yinghan said as she curled her lips. I'm just saying. Since you all know what's going on, that's great. In any case, just focus on learning the sword technique. Don't think about all this nonsense. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart, that old bastard, Vice Palace Master Lu, could it be that he was a pervert who was provoked by my foster mother back then? Arranging these guards to teach these young ladies one-on-one was clearly not good-natured. Those guards were all good-looking, and they were also very elegant. In addition to the intimate contact during the teaching of sword techniques, some of the girls might be tempted. It was estimated that the girls who were tempted would most likely be eliminated. 2 hours passed very quickly, and everyone once again came to the courtyard. The other guards were very happy to lead the girls to practice sword techniques. Only Yuchi forced a smile and said, "Miss Chujio, should we learn some moves?" Yun Chujio didn't say anything. She just took out a chair and sat down. Then, she looked at Yuchi. Yuchi was a little scared by her stare. He could only grit his teeth and said, "I understand. I will continue to demonstrate the netherworld swordsmanship to you." Yun Chujio smiled. "Let's begin. You have to maintain your standard. It won't look good if you're too slow." Yuchi wished he could strangle Yun Chujio to death. "I'm teaching you swordsmanship, I'm not a dancer." However, he didn't dare to express his anger, so he could only demonstrate the netherworld swordsmanship over and over again. At night, Yuchi was carried out of the courtyard. When the other guards saw that Yuchi was as tired as a dead dog, they felt extremely fortunate. It was fortunate that that little pervert had not chosen them. Otherwise, they would have ended up like Yuchi. It was really too terrifying. Yuchi said that he had demonstrated his sword technique more than 200 times today, and he was so tired that he was about to vomit. Jin Ji said with disdain, Lin Chu, I thought you were just stupid. I didn't expect you to be so vicious. What did that guard do to provoke you? You actually tortured him like that. Ah, I know. You must know your own limitations and know that you can't learn the Netherworld sword technique. That's why you vented your anger on that guard. How vicious. Shunzimo hated Yun Chujio to the core. When she heard Jin Ji say this, she immediately agreed, that's right. There are some people who are not only thick-skinned but also vicious. How can such a person dream of becoming the successor of the saintess? Unless the sun rises from the north, only a person like her will be chosen. Shunzimo immediately agreed with Xing Envy Jin Ji, and Shunzimo looked at Yun Chujio after they finished speaking. They felt that Yun Chujio was definitely going to retort. The two of them had prepared their next words in advance, but unexpectedly, Yun Chujio yawned. I'm so sleepy. Hurry up and eat dinner and go to sleep. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she took her dinner and hopped back to the small side room. Jin Ji and Shunzimo were so angry that they were twitching. The script that they prepared was naturally useless. However, they thought to themselves that Lin Chujio would definitely fail the test tomorrow afternoon. At that time, they would just ridicule her. Chu, have you learned the Netherworld sword technique? If you haven't learned it, I'll teach you. I've already learned 80 to 90%. After Mo Wanwan washed up, she went to Yun Chujio's side and said. Me? I've learned it pretty well. Do you guys need me to give you some pointers? If you don't need me, I'll read the script. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Although Mo Wanwan and the other two knew that this guy had an idea, did he just learn it after reading it for a whole day? Was that possible? The three of them were about to ask again when they saw Yun Chujio take out the script and read it with great interest. It was not good for them to say anything more. The three of them exchanged their doubts about their respective sword techniques and then rested. The next morning, everyone arrived at the courtyard on time and continued to practice. Yuchi saw that Yun Chujio still took out a chair, so he could only accept his fate and began to demonstrate the Netherworld sword technique in an endless cycle. As he brandished his sword, he cursed in his heart that this little pervert would definitely be eliminated in the afternoon. He did not believe that she would be able to learn the Netherworld sword technique just by watching. This Netherworld sword technique had a total of 36 moves, and each move was divided into 8 moves. Such a complicated sword technique was something that even those who practiced one-on-one would not be able to learn in just a day and a half, not to mention that this little pervert was only watching him practice. She had not practiced it once. It would be a miracle if she could learn it. Yuchi relied on this thought to vent his anger until noon. He sat down on the ground and saw the little pervert put away his chair. He said with a smile, TSK, your sword dance is pretty good. I really hope that the next training will be like this. When the time comes, I will definitely choose you again. Yuchi almost fainted. He gritted his teeth and panted, Miss Chu, you should think of a way to pass the test this afternoon. You taught me so hard. How could I not pass it? Don't worry, I will definitely pass it. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Unfortunately, Yun Chujio's smile looked like a devil's smile to Yuchi. The thought of her not passing the test started to waver. This little pervert said so confidently. Could it be? Could it be that she would really see a ghost? Please don't. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. After consoling Yuchi, Yun Chujio hopped over to pick up lunch. Today's lunch was still very sumptuous. There were 6 dishes and a soup. There were maids who were specifically responsible for preparing lunch. The young girls handed over their cutlery, and the maids served the dishes according to their personal needs. Most people chose 2 or 3 dishes that they liked, and the cutlery was mostly celadone bowls. Therefore, when the maid saw the big basin that Yun Chujio handed over, she was immediately dumbfounded. "I have a big appetite, please fill more." "You don't have to fill it up, just fill half of the basin." Yun Chujio said with a smile. Recently, the quality of the dishes had improved, and the taste was really good. It was completely different from the dishes of the Tianyuan continent, and it was quite unique. The corner of the maid's eyes twitched. She took Yun Chujio's big basin and filled it for a long time, but only one basin was filled. "Lin Chu, you're really greedy." "But that's true. You're going to be eliminated in the afternoon. It's not a waste to order food." Jin Ji said disdainfully. Shenzimo also echoed from the side, "Lin Chu, you're really a good-for-nothing. You only know how to eat and eat all day. It's really embarrassing." Yun Chujio looked at the two of them indifferently. "So what if I can eat? So what if I'm a good-for-nothing? Eat your rice or drink your water. A dog is meddling in other people's business." Jin Ji and Shenzimo were so angry that they were twitching. They had never met such a thick-skinned person. How could he admit that he was a good-for-nothing? In the end, Yun Chujio brought out 6 large basins. Each basin contained half a basin of vegetables. She went back to the dormitory eagerly. The guards were resting in a corner of the courtyard at noon. They saw what happened here and could not help but discuss it in low voices. "That Lin Chu is the thickest person I have ever met. She uses bowls to get food, but she actually uses basins. And 6 large basins. Fortunately, there are only 6 dishes. If there were 10 dishes, wouldn't she have taken out 10 basins? That's right. She looks like a little fairy on the outside. I didn't expect her to be so greedy. Moreover, her personality isn't that good either. What has she done to Yuqi? Yuqi, that Lin Chu has done a lot to you. Can't you think of a way?" Yuqi felt his nose turn sour, and tears almost fell from his eyes. He sighed. "What can I do? I said that I wanted to teach her the moves to disintegrate, but she didn't listen at all. She wanted me to demonstrate the entire set. She even said that if I didn't demonstrate, she would change people. You all know that if we were to be chased back halfway, would the higher-ups spare me?" Everyone thought of the punishment of not completing the mission and fell silent. Then, they all sighed and comforted her. "Your hard days are coming to an end. That Lin Chu will definitely fail the assessment in the afternoon. When that time comes, you will have successfully retired." "That's right. She hasn't practiced it once, so she definitely won't be able to pass. You don't have to suffer anymore." Hearing everyone's comforting words, Yuqi felt a little better. However, he still felt a little uneasy. Yuqi gritted his teeth. He must have thought too much. She wouldn't pass at all. She definitely wouldn't. In the afternoon, the sword technique test officially began. 44 guards were the judges. The young ladies took the sword technique test one by one. The results were also very simple. The guards raised their hands to vote. More than half of them raised their hands to pass. Yuqi could not help but feel happy in his heart. This method was really too good. When the time came for Lin Chu to take the test, even if she could learn well, his colleagues would not let her pass. He was finally going to escape from the clutches of the devil. Chapter 1662, Chapter 1663 was passed by all votes after Zheng Mama announced the rules of the assessment. The sword technique assessment officially began. The first person to take part in the assessment was Jin Ji. Jin Ji did not seem nervous at all. There was a hint of arrogance in her confidence as she summoned her sword and began to dance. Yun Chujio cursed silently in her heart. This brainless fellow still had some good points. At least his sword technique was decent. A moment later, Jin Ji withdrew her sword technique and returned to the team. All 44 guards raised their hands and passed with a unanimous vote. Jin Ji was very proud. These people could not be compared to her at all. The successor of Sheng Nv was none other than her. Zheng Mama nodded in satisfaction. Jin Ji's swordsmanship is not bad. Pass. Qin Lan, step forward. Qin Lan's swordsmanship was not bad either. Although it was not a unanimous vote, most of the guards raised their hands. Only then did Qin Lan heave a sigh of relief. In terms of swordsmanship, she was indeed weaker than Jin Ji, however, she did not take Jin Ji seriously at all. She was just an idiot who did not have a brain. Next, everyone took the assessment in turn. Although there were good and bad results, all of them passed the assessment. Only one person was left who had not taken the assessment. Naturally, it was Yun Chuzhou. Everyone looked at Yun Chuzhou gloatingly. In their hearts, they were certain that this Lin Chuzhou was going to be eliminated. She had tormented that guard so much that she definitely did not learn the netherworld swordsmanship. Although those guards did not say anything, they were all winking at Yuqi. Their meaning was self-evident. Even if this Lin Chuzhou could fool them once, they would not let her pass. After Yun Chuzhou stepped out, she walked to the designated area and summoned a treasured sword. After a long while, she did not move. Everyone could not help but whisper, "It looks like this Lin Chuzhou really doesn't know anything. She's really trash. She is a waste to begin with. She is only at the 8th level of the spirit sect. She isn't even a spirit saint. In the last round, she was just lucky. Since she doesn't know how to do it, then don't waste your time. What are you waiting for? Seriously." Zheng Mama coughed and the crowd didn't dare to speak anymore. However, they all stared at Yun Chuzhou with dissatisfaction. Mo Wanwan and the other two were very worried. Could it be that Chu Chu really doesn't know how to do it? Yu Kai's hands were clenched into fists. This was great. This Lin Chu Chu really didn't know how to do it. He was about to be freed. Lin Chu Chu, why haven't you started? If you don't start, you'll be directly eliminated. Zheng Mama glanced at Yun Chuzhou and said. As soon as Zheng Mama's words fell, Yun Chuzhou moved. Every move was quite accurate. However, this speed was even slower than slow-motion replay. She used a whole hour to demonstrate a sword technique that others could demonstrate in 15 minutes. Just as Zheng Mama was about to signal for the guards to raise their hands to vote, Yun Chuzhou raised her hand to indicate that she had something to say. Zheng Mama was stunned. What do you want to say? Zheng Mama, the way I learn sword techniques is different from others, so the guard who taught me is a little more tired than others. Although I believe that he won't take revenge for personal grievances, it's inevitable that his colleagues will fight for him and pick on me. They deliberately eliminated me. So, I deliberately did it very slowly to let them see clearly, so that they wouldn't say that I didn't do it properly. Yun Chuzhou said with a perturbed face. The corner of Zheng Mama's eyes twitched. Although she wasn't at the scene, she knew the learning situation of these people like the back of her hand. She absolutely believed that the guards would really eliminate this Lin Chuzhou. However, this little girl was smart. She knew to gag the mouths of those people first. Should she speak up for her? After Zheng Mama announced the rules of the assessment, the sword technique assessment officially began. The first person to take part in the assessment was Jin Ji. Jin Ji did not seem nervous at all. There was a hint of arrogance in her confidence as she summoned her sword and began to dance. Yun Chuzhou cursed silently in her heart. This brainless fellow still had some good points. At least his sword technique was decent. A moment later, Jin Ji withdrew her sword technique and returned to the team. All 44 guards raised their hands and passed with a unanimous vote. Jin Ji was very proud. These people could not be compared to her at all. The successor of Sheng Nv was none other than her. Zheng Mama nodded in satisfaction. Jin Ji's swordsmanship is not bad. Pass. Qin Lan, step forward. Qin Lan's swordsmanship was not bad either. Although it was not a unanimous vote, most of the guards raised their hands. Only then did Qin Lan heave a sigh of relief. In terms of swordsmanship, she was indeed weaker than Jin Ji, however, she did not take Jin Ji seriously at all. She was just an idiot who did not have a brain. Next, everyone took the assessment in turn. Although there were good and bad results, all of them passed the assessment. Only one person was left who had not taken the assessment. Naturally, it was Yun Chuzhou. Everyone looked at Yun Chuzhou gloatingly. In their hearts, they were certain that this Lin Chuzhou was going to be eliminated. She had tormented that guard so much that she definitely did not learn the netherworld swordsmanship. Although those guards did not say anything, they were all winking at Yuqi. Their meaning was self-evident. Even if this Lin Chuzhou could fool them once, they would not let her pass. After Yun Chuzhou stepped out, she walked to the designated area and summoned a treasured sword. After a long while, she did not move. Everyone could not help but whisper, "It looks like this Lin Chuzhou really doesn't know anything. She's really trash. She is a waste to begin with. She is only at the 8th level of the spirit sect. She isn't even a spirit saint. In the last round, she was just lucky. Since she doesn't know how to do it, then don't waste your time. What are you waiting for? Seriously." Zheng Mama coughed and the crowd didn't dare to speak anymore. However, they all stared at Yun Chuzhou with dissatisfaction. Mo Wanwan and the other two were very worried. Could it be that Chu Chu really doesn't know how to do it? Yu Kai's hands were clenched into fists. This was great. This Lin Chu Chu really didn't know how to do it. He was about to be freed. Lin Chu Chu, why haven't you started? If you don't start, you'll be directly eliminated. Zheng Mama glanced at Yun Chuzhou and said. As soon as Zheng Mama's words fell, Yun Chuzhou moved. Every move was quite accurate. However, this speed was even slower than slow-motion replay. She used a whole hour to demonstrate a sword technique that others could demonstrate in 15 minutes. Just as Zheng Mama was about to signal for the guards to raise their hands to vote, Yun Chuzhou raised her hand to indicate that she had something to say. Zheng Mama was stunned. What do you want to say? Zheng Mama, the way I learn sword techniques is different from others, so the guard who taught me is a little more tired than others. Although I believe that he won't take revenge for personal grievances, it's inevitable that his colleagues will fight for him and pick on me. They deliberately eliminated me. So, I deliberately did it very slowly to let them see clearly, so that they wouldn't say that I didn't do it properly. Yun Chuzhou said with a perturbed face. The corner of Zheng Mama's eyes twitched. Although she wasn't at the scene, she knew the learning situation of these people like the back of her hand. She absolutely believed that the guards would really eliminate this Lin Chuzhou. However, this little girl was smart. She knew to gag the mouths of those people first. Should she speak up for her? Jin Ji was gnashing her teeth while Yun Chuzhou had already put a few big pots of food into her storage ring. Then, she hopped back to her dormitory. Chu Chu, tell us the truth. Why did you take so long to use your sword technique? And why didn't you do anything for a long time? You scared us to death. After dinner, Mo Wanwan came to Yun Chuzhou's side and asked curiously. Yun Chuzhou giggled. Because I was thinking about the moves of the netherworld swordsmanship. I haven't practiced it before, so how could I be fast? Mo Wanwan and the other two felt that this answer was both unexpected and expected. They had to admit that Chu Chu was really a pervert. She had actually learned it just by looking at it. If she was a little more diligent and practiced it a few more times. She would definitely be more outstanding than Jin Ji. However, the three of them looked at Yun Chujio, who was lying on the bed reading a script. It seemed that the script in her heart was much more important than practicing her swordsmanship. What a weirdo. The little black bird in the spiritual beast bag also asked curiously, "Master, why are you doing this? I don't believe that you can't play fast." "Xiao Hei, your master, I am really outstanding and intelligent. If I play well once, those people will definitely discover my talent. This is not good. I have to hide it until the end," Yun Chujio said smugly. Xiao Heinio rolled his eyes. The last few words were obviously useful, but this black-hearted master insisted on adding a line of self-bragging. This narcissism was really out of this world. "Master, then why did you torture that Yuqi? Did he offend you?" "He didn't offend me, but when I saw the guards of the Netherworld Palace, I got angry. Moreover, have you heard of torturing relationships? The more I torture him like this, the more he will be grateful when I give him some benefits in the future. He might even be my helper in the future." Sadomasochism. "Master, do you think that if the pretty boy heard you say that, he would smash all the doors in your house?" The next day, everyone had breakfast and gathered in the courtyard. "Today and tomorrow morning, your guards will continue to teach you sword techniques. This time, the sword technique is the Azure Falling Sword technique. Study hard and take the test tomorrow afternoon," Zheng Mama said briefly and then left the courtyard. As they had already been together for 2 days, the girls were already very familiar with their respective guards, so they immediately began to practice. The atmosphere was very good with laughter and laughter. Yun Chujio pursed her lips. It seemed that her guess was right. That old bastard, Vice Palace Master Lu, had become a pervert after being provoked. If a girl was tempted, she would definitely be eliminated. Yuqi did not sleep well last night. He felt that this Lin Chujio would definitely torture him in a variety of ways today. When Yuqi saw Yun Chujio take out the chair, he could not help but stagger. His suffering was about to begin again. "Oh God, what sin have I committed that you want to punish me like this?" Yun Chujio crossed her legs. She said with a smile, "Yuqi, I originally thought that you would resent me for torturing you. I didn't expect you to actually let me pass. It seems that I have judged a gentleman with the heart of a villain. Since that's the case, I don't have any worries anymore. Let's begin. Play it 180 times for me to appreciate." Yuqi was so angry that his head was buzzing. Shameless. Truly too shameless. You were clearly the one who used words to force us to let you pass, yet you still said that. You were just trying to be nice. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. That night, Yuqi was carried back by his colleagues. "Yuqi, this Lin Chu is too much. In the assessment tomorrow, we will eliminate that Lin Chu at the risk of being reported by that Zhao Mama." That's right, US men were actually threatened by a little girl. It's a great shame. Yuqi, you can persist for another morning tomorrow. We will eliminate her in the afternoon. Yuqi said weakly, "Then thank you all. I'm exhausted. I'm going to sleep first. You guys can just put me directly on the bed." Hearing Yukai's words, everyone felt that Lin Chu was really vicious. She had actually exhausted people to such an extent. They had to eliminate her tomorrow. The next day, Yuqi gritted his teeth and summoned his treasured sword. Just as he was about to demonstrate the Gabriella sword technique, he heard Yun Chujio say, "Yuqi, I thought about it last night. It's a little too much for me to torment you like this, so I've decided to change my ways. I won't torment you today. Sit down and rest." After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she took out a chair and gestured for Yuqi to sit down. Yuqi couldn't believe his ears. Oh God, could it be that the sun had risen from the north? The little devil had turned into a little fairy. Yuchi asked suspiciously, Miss Chu Chu, is what you said true? Of course it's true. It can't be any more true. Quickly sit down. Let's chat. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Yuchi was overwhelmed by the favor. He stuttered, Miss Chu Chu, I want sit. Why don't I teach you how to dissect the moves? No rush, no rush. Let's chat first. There's still time to learn it later. Yuchi saw that Yun Chujio spoke sincerely, so he could only sit down. Sigh, Yuchi, actually, I didn't mean to torture you. You might not know my background. Yun Chujio let out a long sigh, and her eyes turned red. The little black rat in the spirit beast bag immediately lit a candle for Yuchi. A black-hearted master was a set trick to trick people. Yuchi, you're going to board the pirate ship. Yuchi saw that Yun Chujio looked like she was about to cry and said in a panic, Miss Chujio, actually, my background is very miserable. When I was 10 years old, both my parents passed away due to illness. I didn't have any other relatives, so I became an orphan. Other girls have parents and brothers. As for me, I'm alone. You don't know that I'm most afraid of celebrating holidays and birthdays. Seeing other people's happy family reunion, but I'm alone, it's really painful. Yun Chujio said with a slight sob. Yukai's eyes were also slightly red. Most of these guards were orphans or abducted, so he didn't have any parents or relatives. Hearing Yun Chujio say this, he couldn't help but think of his own background. Yun Chujio continued, I wanted to have a brother since I was young. I watched the neighbor's little girl bully her brother, and I was really envious. So, I've been torturing you these past 2 days on purpose, wanting to feel what it's like to have a brother who is tolerant. However, I thought about it last night. What I did was too selfish. I've tormented you too miserably. Yuchi, I'm sorry. You can just sit here and rest today. If worst comes to worst, you'll just be eliminated. It's not a big deal. An orphan like me would never be the successor of Xing Nv. I know my limits. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, she covered her face with her sleeve and her shoulders trembled slightly. Yuchi felt that Yun Chujio must be crying because of guilt and sadness. He could not help but blame himself for being narrow-minded. Miss Chujio, you don't have to be sad. There's still half a day left. We can still make it. Really? You didn't lie to me. Can I really pass? Yun Chujio took off her sleeves. Sure enough, her eyes were red. You can definitely pass. Let's start practicing. Yuchi saw Yun Chujio's surprised expression and immediately felt that the burden on his shoulders was very heavy. Yuchi thought that Yun Chujio could perform the Netherworld sword technique yesterday. Although the speed was slow, it was still accurate. There would definitely be no problem today. Unexpectedly, Yun Chujio had been learning it with difficulty. By noon, although she was able to execute the sword technique once, there would often be a few mistakes in the middle. No matter how she corrected it, she would not be able to remember it. Yun Chujio's eyes immediately turned red. Yuchi, I know that you have already tried your best. I was too stupid. If you are eliminated, so be it. Don't blame yourself too much. Yuchi asked in puzzlement, Miss Chu Chu, you can learn the Netherworld sword technique, and you've learned every move perfectly. Why can't you learn the Gabriella sword technique? Actually, I can only learn it faster by watching the full set of demonstrations. However, I don't want to torment you anymore. Forget it, I've passed 2 rounds of the test. I'm already very satisfied. If you're eliminated, so be it. Yun Chujio pretended to be strong as she said. Yuchi was stunned. He did not know what to feel in his heart. It turned out that Miss Chujio was thinking for his sake, so she was willing to take the risk of being eliminated rather than letting him demonstrate the whole thing. He thought that she was a vicious person, but it turned out that she had such a kind heart. He even wanted to unite with other people to eliminate her. He was really inhuman. Miss Chujio, don't worry. You will definitely not be eliminated. Just try your best during the test. Yuchi gritted his teeth and said. I know. You are trying to comfort me. Thank you. It's time to eat. Hurry up and go eat. I won't eat anymore. Yun Chujio said and ran back to the dormitory. Yuchi automatically understood that Miss Chu must have felt that she was going to be eliminated in the afternoon, so she did not even want to eat lunch. He must help her. Yuchi frowned and walked towards the guards. Everyone, please. During the afternoon test, no matter how Lin Chu performs, you must let her pass, Yuchi said to the guards. The guards looked at Yuchi in confusion. Could it be that Yuchi had been tortured by that Lin Chu to the point of going crazy? Yuchi, what are you talking about? Didn't we agree to eliminate that Lin Chu? That's right. That Lin Chu is so vicious. She tormented you until you were almost crippled, yet you still let her pass. Is there something wrong with your head? Yuchi, did that Lin Chu threaten you? Yuchi laughed bitterly. I was wrong about her. She is a kind and good girl. She is an orphan, Yuchi explained Yun Chujia's words and his own understanding. He said it so movingly that many of the guards' eyes turned red. Ah, so that's how it is. I was wondering. This Lin Chujio isn't stupid. What good would she get from torturing you? So that's how she could learn sword techniques. Moreover, in order to prevent you from suffering, she would rather be eliminated. What a kind and good girl. One of the guards sighed. Sigh, we are also orphans. We are all poor children who share the same fate. Compared to those young ladies who are saintesses, I would rather an orphan like Lin Chu be a saintess. At least she can speak up for us, Sheng Envi said. Yuchi, we will definitely help you with this. No matter how bad Lin Chuchia's swordsmanship is, we will let her pass. Everyone expressed their stance. Yuchi gratefully cupped his hands towards everyone and started to eat lunch. What Yuchi did not know was that Yun Chujio was peeking out from the door. When she saw Yuchi cupping his hands towards everyone, she snapped her fingers and it was done. Aya, this little white lotus was not that easy to act. However, this man really had no resistance towards little white lotus. At this time, Mo Wanwan and the other two had just returned from their meal. They asked in puzzlement, Chu, why didn't you go and get your meal? You don't even know that the maid had specially prepared a lot of extra food. You didn't go and get your meal. She left a lot of food behind. Ah, that's such a pity. However, I had a divination this morning. I shouldn't be too greedy today, so I decided to eat some leftover food. Yun Chujio said with a smile. Mo Wanwan and the other two curled their lips. It would be a ghost if they believed you. This guy might not be thinking of some evil idea again. Yun Chujia's storage ring had a lot of food in it. Naturally, she wouldn't be hungry. This guy was thinking while eating. As expected, it's better to be prepared. He'll definitely make more during dinner. In the afternoon, the sword technique test began. The people at the front had all passed. Finally, everyone's eyes were focused on Yun Chujio. Jin Ji and the others thought that if Lin Chujio slowed down again, they would protest. They did not believe that Zheng Mama would still protect her. Zheng Mama was also a little uncertain. This Lin Chujio had passed the test by a fluke the day before yesterday. If she still used the same excuse today, it would be difficult to convince the public. If it really did not work, she would have to be eliminated. Lin Chu, step out. Yun Chujio walked out from the group and summoned her sword to dance. The first few moves were fine and looked decent, but after 10 moves, she began to make frequent mistakes. It was not easy for her to finish playing with the Gabriella sword technique. Jin Ji and the others were overjoyed. This Lin Chu was definitely going to be eliminated this time. Those guards had their concerns yesterday, but they had no concerns today. No one would raise their hands. Zheng Mama gestured for the guards to raise their hands to vote. She sighed in her heart. This Lin Chucha's swordsmanship was really too poor. Those guards already hated her for torturing Yuqi. Now, they were definitely going to eliminate Lin Chu. This Lin Chu was also courting death. Why did you torture the guards for no reason? Mo11 and the other two were so anxious that their foreheads were covered in cold sweat. Chu, why did a smart person like you do such a stupid thing? You didn't learn how to speak. Even if we didn't sleep last night, we still taught you. Now, the matter is already set in stone. Even if we wanted to help, we can't. Everyone's gaze turned towards the 44 guards. In their hearts, they thought that no one would raise their hands. Unless they were blind, only then would they think that Yun Chujia's Azure falling sword technique was qualified. Then, they saw someone raise his right hand. The person who raised his hand was actually Yuqi. Fuck. Was this Yuqi crazy? Lin Chujio had tormented him until he was half dead, and he actually let Yun Chujio pass. Just as everyone was in a daze, they saw the other guards raise their right hands one after another. Very quickly, all the guards raised their right hands. Yun Chujio actually passed again, unanimously. Jin Ji and the others were stunned. Mo11 and the other two were stunned. Zheng Mama was also stunned. How was this possible? Lin Chucha's Gabriella sword technique was full of mistakes. How could she pass? Were there any problems with these guards' eyes? Jin Ji questioned angrily, this Lin Chucha's swordsmanship is full of mistakes. Why did you let her pass? That's right. You have to give us an explanation, or else we will protest. Shen Zimo echoed. The rest of the people also joined in the jeering. Although they did not have any enmity with Yun Chujio, it was always good to have one less competitor. Although Zheng Mama was not willing to eliminate Yun Chujio, she did not want to go too far. Hence, she coughed, then, she said, what they said makes some sense. Lin Chucha's Gabriella sword technique is not very proficient. Why did you let her pass? Yuqi and the guards had already thought of an excuse, therefore, they said calmly, Zheng Mama, everyone, although Lin Chucha's sword technique has a few mistakes, she has used the essence of the Gabriella sword technique. For example, the move where life and death depend on each other, Yun Chujio gave Yuqi 32 thumbs up in her heart. She did not expect Yuqi to be so good at lying. If she was not the person involved, even she would have believed him. After Yuqi finished speaking, the other guards also cooperated and said a few words. Zheng Mama was not very proficient in sword techniques, so she was confused. She was puzzled. Could it really be because of this? Alright, in that case, Lin Chu should return to the team. You have passed too. Zheng Mama said to Yun Chujio. Although Jin Ji and Shen Zimo felt that Yukai's words were a bit far-fetched, they did not find any reason to refute. They could only watch as Yun Chujio hopped back into the team. All of you have passed the swordsmanship test. Not bad. What you need to practice next is the actual combat effectiveness of the swordsmanship. Tomorrow morning, I will lead you into the Azura array. There are many demonic beasts transformed from the array inside the Azura array. You can only use the Netherworld sword technique and the Azure falling sword technique to attack those demonic beasts. If you use other methods to attack them, you will be directly ejected and eliminated. However, you can rest assured that you will not really die inside. After you die, you will be resurrected. The demonic beasts you kill are your results. If you cannot kill 20 demonic beasts within a day and a half, you will be eliminated. Do you understand? Zheng Mama said in a deep voice. I understand. The young girls answered in unison, but they were very nervous. Although the Netherworld Sword Technique and the Azure Falling Sword Technique were not bad, they did not know what level the array beasts in the Azura array were at. Could they be completed? Right, your guards will go in with you. In the array, you can only see you and your guards. Other people can't see you, so you don't have to dream of seeking help from others. You can only rely on your own and the guards' abilities to kill the demonic beasts. Alright, dismissed. Zheng Mama added and left. Yun Chuzhou cursed in her heart. This Vice Palace Master Lu really knew how to use tricks. He placed the guards and the young girl alone in the dangerous array. If a hero came to save the beauty, the young girl's heart would naturally be stirred up. He really knew how to play. After Yun Chuzhou finished complaining, she walked in front of Yu Qi and said, Yu Qi, thank you very much. I didn't expect that you would help me this much. I swear that if I, Lin Chu, can really become the successor of the Saintess, I will definitely repay your great kindness. If I violate this oath, I will let the heavenly lightning strike me to death. Xing Nv said. When Yu Qi and the others heard that Yun Chuzhou had actually made such a vicious vow, they felt even more that this was a good girl who knew how to repay kindness. They had really wronged her in the past. These guards now sincerely hoped that the final victor would be this Lin Chu. Such a kind saint would definitely be able to treat them well in the future. If there was a chance, they would definitely help her. After Yun Chuzhou finished her favorability rating, she hopped and went to get some food. When the guards saw Yun Chuzhou taking out a big basin to get food again, they didn't mock her this time. Instead, they said sadly, Miss Chu, you must have suffered a lot in the past and suffered from hunger. That's why you cherish food so much. Yes, Miss Chu doesn't forget her original intention. What a good girl. Yu Qi, once you enter the Azura array, you must do your best to protect Miss Chu. You must let her pass smoothly. Yun Chuzhou, this fellow, did not know that her favorability rating had already reached the peak. After finishing her meal, she returned to the dormitory in high spirits. Mo Wanwan and the other two followed closely behind and returned to the dormitory. Chu, you scared us to death. Why didn't you tell us that you don't know the Gabriella sword technique? Yeah, we would have taught you even if we didn't sleep last night. Fortunately, those guards helped you, or else you would have been eliminated. Oh right, you made that Yu Qi suffer so much, why did they still help you? Mo Wanwan and the other two did not believe any nonsense about the essence of the sword technique. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes. Maybe they think I'm cuter. After all, it's rare to see a girl as cute, kind, and beautiful as me. It can't be helped, beauty is welcome. Mo Wanwan and the other two. The four of them had dinner, Lu Qin said worriedly, the four of us have the lowest spiritual power. We don't know what level the demonic beasts in the Azura array are at. Moreover, we can only use the Netherworld sword technique and the Azure Falling sword technique. Can we pass? Mo Wanwan also echoed, yeah, I'm not sure. Fortunately, we won't really die in there. Otherwise, we'll really be finished. Yun Chuzhou blinked her eyes, come over here. I have a good idea that will let you pass the test. Mo Wanwan and the other two immediately asked in surprise, what idea? Yun Chuzhou smiled and said, to dig for potential from the inside. What the hell was digging for potential from the inside? Mo Wanwan and the other two looked at Yun Chuzhou in confusion, obviously not quite understanding. Don't forget that there are two of you going in. Besides you, don't you have a bodyguard? You have to stimulate the bodyguard's maximum potential. Then, 1 + 1 will be greater than 2. Yun Chujio blinked and said. Stimulate the bodyguard's potential. How do you do that? Mo Wanwan and the other two still didn't quite understand. This will depend on your individual performance. For example, Wanwan can pretend to be cute. As for Lu Qin, pretend to be weak. As for Ying Han, the first two models are not suitable for you. It's better for you to use provocation. Mo Wanwan and the others were stunned. Then, Zhou Yinghan slapped his thigh. Damn! Chu Chu, you make it sound so nice. What bullshit are you talking about? You're just a honey trap. Yun Chujio waved her hand. Wrong. This isn't a honey trap. A honey trap used by a beauty like me is a honey trap. Ordinary-looking people like you are just a honey trap at most. Mo Wanwan and the other two. Whose family did this shameless person belong to? Quickly bring her back. They didn't want to see her again. The four of them laughed and laughed. Yun Chujio said seriously, what I said just now is true. In this 1.5 day period, you and your guards will be comrades. Only by gaining the other party's trust or arousing the other party's desire to win can you unleash your strongest combat strength. Mo Wanwan and the other two seemed to be deep in thought. Yun Chujio did not say anything more. After washing up, she lay on the bed and read her script happily. The next morning, Yun Chujio was once again dragged out of bed unwillingly. Chu Chu, you're right. They'll think of a way to win you Yuan's trust and support. You're right. No matter what happens outside, Yu Yuan and I will be comrades in arms when we enter the Azura Array, Mo Wanwan said firmly. I'll also communicate with you Li, Lu Qin agreed. Zhou Yinghan saw the situation and said, fuck, alright then. I will also talk to Yu Qi. If he isn't willing to help me, I will use goading. Yun Chujio clapped her hands. That's right. Unite all the forces that can be united. There is no eternal enemy, only eternal interests. As long as you all have the same goal, you will be temporary friends. Mo Wanwan and the other two were stunned by Yun Chujio's words. Where did this Chujio come from? Although it sounded like nonsense at first, it made sense when they thought about it. After breakfast, the four of them came to the courtyard. When Jin Ji saw Yun Chujio, she immediately said with disdain, Lin Chujio, although you passed the sword technique test, you won't be so lucky in the Azura Array this time. Just wait to be eliminated. Yun Chujio said with a smile, Jin Ji, it seems that I have to make a statement. Jin Ji frowned, what is it? I, Lin Chujio, like men. Even if you deliberately attract my attention, I want like you. So, don't come to my place for nothing in the future. You, Jin Ji had never met such a shameless person. She didn't know what to say. Yun Chujio looked at Shen Zimo next to Jin Ji. Oh right, and you. I want like you either. So, stay away from me in the future. Lin Chu Chu, you're shameless. Why would we like you? We can't wait for you to be eliminated. You don't have to show off. Just wait to be eliminated. Shen Zimo said angrily. Yun Chujio pursed her lips and ignored her. She stood in the group. Soon, the guards and Zheng Mama arrived. Everyone followed Zheng Mama out of the courtyard. After walking for a while, they finally arrived at a desolate place. The ground was full of wild grass, as if it had been abandoned for many years. Yun Chujio couldn't help but frown. How could there be such a place in the Netherworld Hall? Wasn't it usually a forbidden area that would look like this? Would a small test be carried out in a forbidden area? Just as Yun Chujio was puzzled, Zheng Mama took out a jade tablet. After forming a seal, a beam of light shot out from the jade tablet, and a round platform actually rose up from the ground. You will be teleported into the Azura Array if you stand on the round platform in turn, Zheng Mama said while pointing at the round platform. Yun Chujio thought it was interesting. Could it be that the desolation was to accentuate the eerie atmosphere of the Azura array? Jin Ji and a guard walked onto the round platform first and disappeared in an instant. Obviously, they had been teleported into the Azura array. Then, the other girls and guards stepped onto the round platform and were teleported into the Azura array. Only Yun Chujio and Yu Chi were left. You guys should hurry up and go up as well. Zheng Mama said. Yun Chujio nodded and climbed onto the round platform with Yu Chi. Zheng Mama was about to leave when she realized something was wrong. Why were the two people on the round platform still there? Why weren't they teleported into the Azura array? Could it be that there was a problem with the teleportation array? That shouldn't be the case. The previous 43 pairs had been successfully teleported, so why was Lin Chuchi's pair not working? Perhaps their reaction was a little slow. Let's wait a little longer. 15 minutes passed, and the two of them were still standing on the round platform. An hour passed, and the two of them were still on the round platform. However, one of the goods was already sitting on the ground. 2 hours later, the two of them were still on the round table, and one of them was already lying there basking in the sun. Zheng Mama could only shout, "You two come down first, I'll go find someone to take a look." Zheng Mama, don't be so troublesome. Since we haven't been teleported in, this means that God doesn't want us to suffer. Just let us pass. Yun Chujio stood up and said with a smile. Well, I'll report this to the higher-ups and let them decide. You guys come down first. Before Zheng Mama finished her words, the round platform emitted a dazzling light. When Zheng Mama regained her sight, Yu Chi and Yun Chujio were already gone from the round platform. Zheng Mama was shocked. The light from the people who were teleported in the past was not so dazzling. Why was Lin Chuchi's light so dazzling? Would there be any problems? Fortunately, Lin Chujio was an orphan. Even if there was an accident, she would not be in any trouble. At this moment, Yun Chujio's heart was like a dog that was bickering. Fuck, it must be Tian Dao or something else. Otherwise, why would there be a problem when it was her time? She was the same. She had to go down first before she said those words. That thing must have heard her words and thought that it was letting her off easy, so it changed its mind again. That was why it brought her and Yu Chi into this damn place. Yun Chujio and Yu Chi were currently in a swamp. The two of them were sinking rapidly. The mud had already reached their chests and chests. In less than 15 minutes, the two of them would be completely trapped in the swamp. Yu Chi had once wanted to leap out, but unfortunately, he discovered that the slightest bit of force would cause them to sink even faster. Yu Chi summoned his treasured sword and wanted to ride it. Then, he let the treasured sword carry him into the air. He did not expect that the treasured sword would sink into the mud when it was only a few feet away from the swamp. It was probably forbidden to fly in this place. Could it be that they could only die like this? Yun Chujio had a premonition that even if they were to die and come back to life, the two of them would still be in this kind of situation. Damn it, that thing was simply too damaged. However, wanting to kill her like this? Dream on. Yun Chujio took out 2 large wooden boards from her storage ring. The two of them spent a lot of effort to climb up. Yu Chi thought that he was dead for sure, but he did not expect to escape death. As he looked around, he said, "Miss Chujio, it's all thanks to you that you have these 2 wooden boards. However, why do you still have these things in your storage ring?" "I picked them up casually." Yun Chujio touched her nose. This was all thanks to the pretty boy. He was lacking in the 5 elements, so I only prepared a few wooden boards. Although there were wooden boards that could temporarily ensure that the two of them would not sink, they could only lie on them. If they moved slightly more, the wooden boards would tilt, and they might sink into the swamp again. At this moment, the swamp in the distance began to roll, and a huge demon beast quickly swam towards the two of them. Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. Fuck, this was really not giving her a way out. That demonic beast was not small at all. It did not even need to attack. As long as it rolled around in the swamp, she and Yu Chi would be trapped in the swamp again. They would definitely die. Yu Kai's expression also changed. Miss Chu Chu, what should we do? Why don't I paddle over and lure it away? Although your self-sacrificing spirit makes me very touched, it's a pity that your method is useless. Don't waste your energy. I still have to do you a favor. This method is stupid. Yu Kai's expression stiffened. Why did he feel that the little fairy was about to turn dark? He must have thought too much. Miss Chu Chu must be worried about him, so she said this in a moment of impatience. At this time, the demonic beast had already swam over. Its huge body was more than 10 zhang long, and its body was full of bumps. It was actually a netherworld swamp poisonous frog. The netherworld swamp poisonous frog's bulging eyes revealed a greedy light. It opened its big mouth and was about to swallow Yu Chi in front of it. Yu Chi was about to collapse. The rules stated that it could only use the netherworld sword technique and the azure falling sword technique. Now that the sword could not fly, how could it attack? If it used spiritual energy to attack, it would be bounced out of the array. Miss Chu Chu would be eliminated. Forget it. If worst comes to worst, she would die. Anyway, she would be resurrected. At this moment, a clear voice was heard shouting, "Oh my God! Yu Chi, what kind of demon beast is this? Why does it look so brave and mighty? I have never seen such a beautiful demon beast." Yu Chi was dumbfounded. Was Miss Chu Chu scared crazy by a demon beast? What nonsense was she talking about? This netherworld swamp poisonous frog was almost the ugliest demon beast. Did you say that it was beautiful? Was there something wrong with your aesthetic judgment, or was there something wrong with your brain? The netherworld swamp poisonous frog was about to swallow Yu Chi, but when it heard Yun Chujia's words, it couldn't help but be dumbfounded. Brave? Mighty? Good-looking? Was it referring to this frog? Could this frog be related to these words? Yu Chi, are you also impressed by the grace of this divine beast? What kind of divine beast is this? I've never seen or heard of it before. Yun Chujio said as she gave Yu Chi a look. Yu Chi vaguely understood Yun Chujia's meaning and stuttered, This is the netherworld swamp poisonous frog, it's the most powerful demonic beast in the swamp. Oh my God, not only does this divine beast look mighty, but its spiritual power is also so high. It was really favored by Tian Dao. It was simply Tian Dao's pet. Lord Poisonous Frog, are you really the overlord of this swamp? Yun Chujio asked with a face full of admiration. The netherworld swamp poisonous frog felt that it was a little floating and arrogantly croaked a few times. Oh my God! Divine beast, your croaking is actually so beautiful. This is simply the sound of nature. Can you call out a few more times for me to hear? Yun Chujio covered her mouth with her hand, with a shocked expression. Yu Chi almost vomited. Miss Chu Chu, you are too good at lying through your teeth. Although this netherworld swamp poisonous frog has not eaten us yet, can you change its mind with just a few good words from you? The netherworld swamp poisonous frog looked like it had shown mercy and started to croak. The loud sound made people's ears buzz. Divine beast, can you call me a few more times? I have never heard such a beautiful voice. Please fulfill my humble wish. Yun Chujio said flatteringly. The vanity of the netherworld swamp poisonous frog was greatly satisfied. It croaked loudly again. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Yun Chujio saw that the swamp in the distance was starting to churn. She could not help but feel happy. It seemed that the shrieks of this netherworld swamp poisonous frog had indeed attracted the other demon beasts. Very good. When the snipe and clam fought, the fisherman would reap the benefits. She was that little fisherman. Just as the netherworld swamp poisonous frog was shrieking vigorously, it felt that something was wrong. It turned its head and saw 3 demon beasts quickly swimming over from the distance. It was shocked. Lord Divine Beast, these scumbags actually dared to provoke us. They are simply courting death. Are you afraid of these battle scumbags with such a mighty divine beast? We will stand up for you and cheer for you. Go and kill them. The east wind blows the war drums. Lord Divine Beast, who have you ever been afraid of? Charge! Yun Chujio shouted as she pulled her neck. Yu Qi almost fell off the door. He felt that his worldview had been washed away. What was this? Could the netherworld swamp poisonous frog listen to you? Unexpectedly, the netherworld swamp poisonous frog really charged towards the demonic beasts. It was not that it was really fooled by Yun Chujio, but it felt that the 2 humans would not be able to escape anyway. Why not settle the troublesome ones first, and then deal with the 2 humans later? Moreover, that human girl's words were quite interesting, so it was not bad to keep them for fun. Yun Chujio stretched her neck and saw that there were 3 swamp crocodiles coming over. Although they were not as big as the swamp poisonous frogs, the 3 of them together should be able to tie with the swamp poisonous frogs. The outcome would not be decided in half a while. As expected, the 4 huge demon beasts began to fight, and the mud rolled violently. Fortunately, Yun Chujio and Yu Qi were still some distance away from the battlefield, otherwise, they would definitely be affected. Miss Chujio, what should we do now? Should we escape? Yu Qi asked in a low voice. Yun Chujio shook her head. Where should we escape to? Even if we tried our best to escape, we wouldn't be able to get very far. Besides, we still have a mission. If we can't kill 20 demon beasts, I will be eliminated. So, I have to think of a way to get that ugly monster to help us kill more demon beasts. Yu Qi had no strength to complain. Just now, he had been praising the netherworld swamp poisonous frog so much, but now, he had become an ugly monster. Besides, weren't you talking in your sleep? It was already good enough that we weren't eaten. That netherworld swamp poisonous frog could help us kill demon beasts. 2 hours later, the battle of the 4 demon beasts came to an end. Although the netherworld swamp poisonous frog was alone, it actually had the upper hand. The 3 netherworld swamp crocodiles were on the verge of breaking down. Damn it, how could this damned poisonous frog be so heroic today? It wasn't so powerful every time they met. The netherworld swamp poisonous frog also felt that it was awesome. Humph. I'm a divine beast, I'm the most mighty and beautiful divine beast. Why would I be afraid of the 3 ugly little crocodiles? I'll definitely kill you all today. I'll let that little girl see that my strength is enough to dominate this swamp. The more the netherworld swamp poisonous frog fought, the braver it became. Moreover, it had the support of its venom and was gradually gaining the upper hand. If the 3 netherworld swamp crocodiles wanted to escape, how could the netherworld swamp poisonous frog give them a chance? It repeatedly attacked their eyes with its venom. 2 hours later, the 3 netherworld swamp crocodiles were all killed by the netherworld swamp poisonous frog and 2 of their corpses were eaten. Lord Divine Beast, you are really too brave. I told you, these dregs are no match for you. Yun Chujio blinked her starry eyes and said. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. When the netherworld swamp poisonous frog heard Yun Chujio's words, it let out a few proud cries. It also felt that its performance today was very good. These 3 stinky crocodiles often came to cause trouble, relying on their large numbers. This frog had never been able to gain the upper hand. It did not expect that it had actually killed them today. It was really satisfying. The netherworld swamp poisonous frog had just swallowed 2 netherworld swamp crocodiles, so it was not in a hurry to eat Yunchujio and Yuchi. Moreover, it felt that Yunchujia's words were very interesting, so it lay in the swamp and stared at Yunchujio. Lord Divine Beast, I have heard people say before that there is a divine beast called the Golden Toad. It is the most auspicious. Anyone who meets the Golden Toad will have good luck. I think you are the Golden Toad. I must have saved a continent in my previous life. That is why I met you. Woo woo, I am so lucky. Yun Chujio said with tears in her eyes. Yu Kai's face was stiff. Miss Chu Chu is really too good at acting. If I were that poisonous frog from the Netherworld swamp, I would be moved. This is too affectionate. Yu Chi could not help but think of what Yun Chujio did yesterday. Could it be that Miss Chu Chu was also trying to trick me yesterday? No, she had already sworn that if she did not treat us properly, she would be struck by lightning. I must have been thinking too much. I really deserve to die. Miss Chujio is a kind and good girl. She would definitely not trick us. After hearing Yun Chujio's words, the Netherworld swamp poisonous frog was indeed a little stunned. Golden Toad. Auspicious. Good luck. How could these words be related to me? The Netherworld swamp poisonous frog felt a sense of pride as if it had been reborn. I am the poisonous frog and I am proud. I am the Golden Toad. Hee, I am the Golden Toad. Yuchi looked at the Netherworld swamp poisonous frog with its big mouth and laughed strangely. He thought to himself, this poisonous frog has really been fooled by Miss Chujio. However, can it help us kill demon beasts? This is simply impossible, okay? Just as Yuchi was thinking about it, he heard Yun Chujio let out a long sigh. The Netherworld swamp poisonous frog also came back to its senses and croaked a few times unhappily. Obviously, it was very unhappy that its beautiful vision was interrupted. Sigh. Lord Golden Toad, I'm really too regretful. Just now, I hadn't even admired your heroic figure enough, but those 3 dregs were already dead. What a pity. If I couldn't see your heroic figure of killing demonic beasts a few more times, would simply die in peace. Yun Chujio repeatedly sighed, she looked very regretful. The poison frog of the Netherworld swamp stared at her with its huge eyes and revealed a proud expression. This human girl really looks up to me. She couldn't even watch my heroic performance and died with her eyes wide open. Croak. Lord Golden Toad, I have a presumptuous request. Although I know that this request might be a little too much, I'm already a person who's about to die. I'll be brave enough to say it. Can you let me admire your heroic performance of killing other demon beasts a few more times? If you agree to it, I'll really die without regrets. Don't worry, although I'm a bit useless, I'm still useful. I can tell you about the interesting things outside, especially the legend of the Golden Toad. Can you agree to this humble request of mine? The Netherworld swamp poisonous frog thought for a while. Anyway, these 2 humans can't escape, and I'm not hungry. It's not a big deal for them to live for 1 or 2 more days. Besides, I also want to hear the story of the Golden Toad. After all, I might be the descendant of the Golden Toad. Therefore, the Netherworld swamp poisonous frog croaked a few times, indicating that it agreed to Yun Chujio's request. Oh my God, Lord Golden Toad. You are simply too magnanimous. As expected of a divine beast. Then let's set off. I can't wait to see you show off your skills. Yun Chujio clapped her hands and said excitedly. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The Netherworld swamp poisonous frog's confidence was unprecedentedly inflated. It quacked a few times and swam in front. Yun Chujio and Yuchi were behind it and used their hands to pull the mud beside the wooden board. They wanted to use this method to make the wooden board move forward, but unfortunately. After pulling for a long time, the wooden board did not go far. The netherworld swamp poisonous frog called out a few times impatiently. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes, she patted her thigh with her hand. Sob, I'm really useless. I can't compare to the valiant and invincible Lord Golden Toad. It's simply difficult to move an inch in this swamp. I can't keep up with Lord Golden Toad at all. Sob, I'm useless. The poisonous frog in the netherworld swamp enjoyed Yun Chujio's blatant praise. The little human girl was right. So what if humans were powerful? In this swamp, it was the overlord. Master Golden Toad, can my companion and I sit on your back? Forget it, my request is too much. Just pretend that I didn't say anything. Although you are broad-minded and have the demeanor of a divine beast, you will definitely not agree to my rude request. Let's continue to paddle the wooden board. Yun Chujio sighed and said. The netherworld swamp poisonous frog was stunned for a moment. Then, it looked at the wooden boards of Yun Chujio and Yuchi and croaked a few times. Oh my god! Lord Golden Toad, you actually agreed. I simply can't believe that you are really the incarnation of good fortune. I am really lucky to have met you. I am really too lucky. Yun Chujio had an overjoyed expression. The poisonous frog of the netherworld swamp was stunned by Yun Chujio's series of good fortune and luck. By the time it came back to its senses, Yun Chujio and Yuchi had already climbed onto its back. Lord Golden Toad, let me tell you a story about Golden Toad and 44 cultivators. Yun Chujio was afraid that the poisonous frog of the netherworld swamp would go back on its words, so she quickly continued to bluff. Yuchi felt as if he was in a dream. Did Miss Choo Choo bluff the netherworld swamp poisonous frog with just one mouth? Not only did she not eat them, but she even let them sit on its back. And she even wanted to bring them to kill demon beasts. Oh God, was it because he was inexperienced or was Miss Choo Choo too abnormal? Yuchi suddenly thought of a very important question. Even if Miss Choo Choo could bluff the netherworld swamp poisonous frog to help them kill some demon beasts, the rules stated that only demon beasts killed with the netherworld sword technique and the azure falling sword technique counted. Wouldn't that mean that they had killed for nothing? Yuchi took out a pen and paper from his storage ring and wrote down the question on the paper for Yun Chujio to read. Yun Chujio nodded her head with a smile on her face, looking as if she was well prepared. Yuchi could not help but wonder, did Miss Chujio have a solution? What exactly was the solution? Yun Chujio was best at making up stories, so the netherworld swamp poisonous frog listened with rapt attention. It could not help but put itself on the body of the golden toad in the story, feeling as if it had opened the door to a new world. It even thought to itself that this little girl's story was really interesting. Let her live for a few more days. After nearly 2 hours, it finally found a demon beast. It was a swamp iron-armored turtle. Yun Chujio shouted excitedly, Master Golden Toad, there's a little bastard over there. Kill it. When the netherworld swamp poisonous frog heard Yun Chujio's two contrasting terms, its blood boiled even more. It let Yun Chujio and Yuchi go down and swam towards the swamp iron-armored turtle. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. The swamp iron-armored turtle wanted to escape when it saw the netherworld swamp poisonous frog. However, the speed of the netherworld swamp poisonous frog was much faster than it, so it had no chance of escaping. Soon, the swamp iron-armored turtle lost its ability to resist. It was sprayed by the poisonous liquid of the netherworld swamp poisonous frog onto its eyes and was on the verge of death. Lord Golden Toad! Lord Golden Toad! Leave the turtle with your claws. Yun Chujio lay on the wooden board and shouted loudly. The poisonous frog of the netherworld swamp was stunned and looked at Yun Chujio suspiciously. Yun Chujio said, Master Golden Toad, can you give me a chance to serve you? Let me kill this little bastard with my sword so that I can express my respect for you. The poisonous frog of the netherworld swamp didn't think it was a big deal. After all, it wasn't afraid that this human girl would play any tricks, so it agreed graciously. Yun Chujio finally managed to paddle to the side of the dying swamp iron-armored turtle. She stabbed her sword into its eyes. Damn it! I told you to be disrespectful to Lord Golden Toad. I told you not to bow down to me. I told you to be blind and not recognize Lord Golden Toad. I'll kill you. Let me tell you, this is the consequence of offending Lord Golden Toad. Do you know what it means to follow the Golden Toad, to go against it, and to die? This is it. In your next life, remember, don't provoke Lord Golden Toad. The unlucky swamp iron-armored turtle was about to die, and Yun Chujia's sword had taken its life. It was dead. Yun Chujio gave herself 32 likes in her heart. She had completed 1/20th of the mission, so she had to continue working hard. The netherworld swamp poisonous frog felt that what Yun Chujio said just now was really too enjoyable, and it felt like it hadn't finished yet. It didn't matter, at worst, they'll just find a few more demon beasts and let this little girl kill them all. This way, I can listen to it a few more times. Thus, the coolie poisonous frog went online and did its best to find the demon beasts. It left the last breath of the demon beasts for Yun Chujio to kill and sing praises at the same time. Yu Chi was dumbfounded in his heart. Right now, a few exclamations were repeating in his mind, Ah! Oh my God! Oh my God! Really? It can't be. Yu Chi now felt that there was an 80% chance that his understanding of Yun Chujio was wrong. Was this little pervert with a belly full of evil water really a kind little fairy? The netherworld swamp poisonous frog was indeed one of the strongest in this swamp. When the sky gradually darkened, Yun Chujio had already killed 18 demon beasts. According to this speed, she would definitely be able to complete the mission by noon the next day. At night, the netherworld swamp poisonous frog naturally had to return to its nest. Therefore, Yun Chujio and Yu Chi sat on the back of the netherworld swamp poisonous frog and followed it back to the netherworld swamp poisonous frog's nest. What surprised Yun Chujio was that the netherworld swamp poisonous frog's nest was actually on a small piece of bare land. She did not expect that there would be such a small piece of land in this swamp. Yun Chujio looked at the small piece of land for a moment. It was about 5 miles in circumference. There was a deep pit in the middle. It was probably the nest of the poisonous frogs in the netherworld swamp. There were some plants growing in the other places, and there were some small-sized demon beasts at the edges. However, when they saw that the poisonous frogs in the netherworld swamp had returned, they all sneaked into the swamp. The poisonous frogs in the netherworld swamp let Yun Chujio and Yu Chi come down. They croaked a few times and jumped into the deep pit. The poisonous frog was not worried that Yun Chujio would escape. Under the dark night, the swamp was even more dangerous. If Yun Chujio and Yu Chi escaped, they would be courting death. This chapter is a preview. If you want to see a faster and more up-to-date chapter, please visit for more content. Yun Chujio took out some food from her storage ring and the two of them began to eat dinner. Some small-sized demon beasts were poking their heads around the edge of the swamp. Yun Chujio really wanted to kill 2 of them so that she could complete the mission. However, when she thought of the consequences of waking up the poisonous frogs in the netherworld swamp, this guy became timid. Miss Chujio, you should rest. I will be in charge of guarding. After eating dinner, Yu Chi said to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio did not stand on ceremony. She took out a blanket and spread it on the ground. She lay on it and fell asleep soundly. The corner of Yu Kai's eyes twitched. There was no one else with such a big heart. She did not even think about it. What if the poisonous frog in the netherworld swamp went back on its word tomorrow? Then all her previous efforts would be wasted. The next morning, Yun Chujio opened her eyes in a refreshed manner. She shouted into the deep pit, Master Golden Toad. It's time to start work. Your glorious journey is about to turn a new page. The netherworld swamp poisonous frog jumped out of the deep pit and croaked excitedly, motioning for Yun Chujio and Yu Qi to jump onto its back. Yu Kai's mouth twitched. It seemed that his worries were completely unnecessary. This netherworld swamp poisonous frog had been eaten by Miss Chujio. It was impossible for it to go back on its words. After Yun Chujio and Yu Qi sat on the back of the netherworld swamp poisonous frog, the netherworld swamp poisonous frog crawled into the swamp and began to search for its target. Yun Chujio continued to tell the story of the golden toad. Of course, it was all made up. However, the poisonous frog in the netherworld swamp listened with rapt attention. It felt that the story was simply too good. Yun Chujio fooled the poisonous frog in the netherworld swamp into killing 2 more demon beasts. She thought happily in her heart that the mission was successfully completed. Yun Chujio looked at the time. There were still 4 hours before the array was closed. As long as she fooled the poisonous frog in the netherworld swamp for more than 2 hours, everything would be fine. Yu Qi was also slightly relieved. Although it was a little dangerous, he had finally completed the mission. Miss Chujio would not be eliminated. At this moment, the netherworld swamp poisonous frog suddenly changed its direction and fled quickly. Yu Qi almost fell down, but fortunately, Yun Chujio stopped him. What was going on? Yun Chujio turned around to look and saw that the mud in the distance was churning violently. Could it be that the netherworld swamp poisonous frog's sworn enemy had come? A loud roar came from afar. When Yun Chujio saw the demonic beast clearly, she couldn't help but feel a chill in her heart. It was actually a level 25 single-horned mud flood dragon. The netherworld swamp poisonous frog was a level 23 demonic beast. It was 2 levels lower than this single-horned mud flood dragon, so it was definitely not its match. Yun Chujio rolled her eyes. Right now, we and the netherworld swamp poisonous frog were like ants on the same rope. We had to face the outside world together. However, even if the 3 of us joined forces, we probably wouldn't be a match for this single-horned mud flood dragon. If we were on land, I naturally wouldn't be afraid of this thing. However, we were currently in the swamp. Secondly, we had to hide our strength. Most importantly, we could only use the netherworld sword technique and the azure falling sword technique. It would be extremely difficult to kill this horned mud dragon. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. She had an idea in her mind and shouted, "Lord Golden Toad, quick, run towards your cave." The poisonous frog in the netherworld swamp was running for its life and was in a daze. When it heard Yun Chujio's words, it seemed to have grabbed onto a life-saving straw. It turned around and ran toward the cave. The single-horned mud dragon was chasing closely behind. Yun Chujio shouted at the top of her voice, "Little Loach, what do you see behind you?" "It seems to be a dragon." The single-horned mud dragon subconsciously turned around and looked back. Naturally, there was nothing. It was so angry that it roared and continued to chase. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.